Hare Krishna. A common question people ask is, what does the yoga tradition tell us about the destinations after a human birth? I mean, what happens when a human dies? What can happen? And basically, there are four destinations. There are four options after a human death. The first one is the one that's most desired, and it's the whole purpose of the yoga path, which is to become liberated. If you've become enlightened, if you follow the path of yoga, then you can go back home, back to Godhead, and never more have to reincarnate, never more have to accept a flesh body in this world, be it human or otherwise. So that's the number one option, and that's why you're supposed to practice yoga, so you can achieve this enlightenment and attain liberation, freedom from samsara, moksha, or more importantly, prema, this love of God that allows you to unite with God eternally. So that's the number one option we should all strive for. Second, the yoga tradition talks about the universe. It's a very interesting, the Vedic tradition, and yoga is part of it, describes the universe as a densely populated place and describes life in other planets and other, star systems, whatever word you want to use. They just call it other places in Vedic. The word is just loka, which just means place. So it has these different places, and one of these regions of the universe is called the celestial region. And in this region is just like a 5-star version of life. So you're used to life here, and we have bodies and we have food and sex and houses, but they have everything in a 5-star version. It's just like everything is awesomely good. They say it's 10,000 times better than here. So you figure out what was the best cake you had, and then think of a cake that's 10,000 times better, or the best mango you've ever eaten, and it's a mango that's 10,000 times tastier. The best beach you've ever seen, and then think of a beach that's 10,000 times better, and so on. And everybody's very beautiful, and there's almost no disease, and it's just this great, amazing place for sense enjoyment. So this is called the celestial region. It's within the world. It's an incarnation. You incarnate there. You get a body there. Beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous body. No body odor. No problems. No unwanted pregnancies. It's mentioned specifically. So you have this beautiful place. Everybody's having a great time. And it's a place of just having an amazingly good time in terms of material enjoyment. So you get to that place by accumulating very good karma, by being very pious, by being a good person and doing your duties well and never hurting people and just accumulating very good karma, but without this desire for spiritual connection, without self-realization. But you're just a good person, but you don't have enough to go back home. You're not sufficiently interested in God. You just want to be a good person, good, dutiful, dharmic person. So then you get, as a result, an incarnation in this celestial sphere for a while. Everything's temporary in the material world. So after that, you have to reincarnate on earth again. So there's this warning. Even Krishna gives this warning in the Bhagavad Gita that, hey, don't waste your time with that, because you're going to go there and then you're going to have to come back here, and you're going to be again in a human body wondering what's going on, just like you are now. So it's not such a great idea. But that's one of the options on the menu. The third option is that you just reincarnate as a human. That's possible too. You just, you don't have such great karma to go to the celestial world. You didn't get into your self-realization enough to go back home to Godhead. But then again, you're not so sinful. You didn't do so many horrible things that you need something else. So you just kind of continue in a human body. You get to take birth again in a human body. So that's a third option, which is okay, but again, it's like you just had a human body, so what's going on that you need another one? You didn't use your human life very well, so you should really try to use this human life better so you don't get stuck doing the same thing again. But the fourth option is even worse. The fourth option means you get to take birth in a lower species. And by that I mean, an animal or plant or fish. So you have to go down in the samsara wheel. You have to again live like some, like an animal or a bug or and then you have this bestial life. And this is the fruit of living very poorly, living with an animal mentality, a bestial mentality. So you feel like you're not even a good human. You think more like an animal. You didn't even care about doing your duty. You're just interested in eating and sex and sleeping. You're just thinking and acting like an animal. So then, you go ahead and you have to take birth as an animal. And then, of course, that's also temporary. And after a while, you're going to go back to human life. So that's basically the 4 possible destinations after a human life, according to the Vedas. But there's 2 little side journeys between the 3 options. There's 2 side journeys which aren't very nice at all, which are also described. So between, of course, not if you've been liberated, that doesn't count. But if you weren't liberated, if you're just going to reincarnate, between incarnations, there's a possibility of being stuck as a ghost. So people who die and they're very attached to some situation or some place, they get stuck as a ghost. And you have to float around being an annoying ghost, like so many movies like to describe these days. So you get stuck as a ghost for a while until you get over whatever your attachment to the other incarnation was. You get stuck to it and you're floating around being a nuisance. And then finally you can go on and reincarnate. And what's even worse, it's also described as just hell. There is a description of hell in Vedic literature. Gladly, it's not the crazy concept of eternal hell, which is completely insane, but it's a description of a temporary place of great suffering. It's a place where the soul experiences great suffering and to get over some very evil mentality. And there's specific experiences in different types of hell to help you overcome horrible habits. For example, there's one hell specifically for people who boil animals alive. So of course in that hell you get boiled alive, just so you get a little sensitivity training. I call it like a morality spa. You just hello, that was really crazy. You can't just take an animal and boil it alive. That was really mad. So now here it is. This is what it feels like. So next incarnation, try not to do that, please. And so on. So it says there's hundreds of thousands of little hell zones you go to and you experience this horrible suffering just so you get this deep impact in your unconscious. So next time when you reincarnate, you'll have that experience that it wasn't such a nice thing to do. So that's it. Those are the 4 possible destinations and the 2 temporary deviations you can achieve after human life, according to the Vedic tradition and the yoga tradition. Hare Krishna.